Let's have a look at simple interest, and we'll look at a scenario or an example of what makes something simple interest instead of some other kind of interest. So in this case, you've been given an inheritance of $5,000. So you get $5,000 and you put it in a bank account and it earns interest. So every year you're going to earn 5% interest on that money. Now you get paid the interest at the end of each year. And with that interest, what you're going to do is you're going to take it and put it aside somewhere safe at home. You're not going to leave it in the bank. So let's have a look at this scenario and what it looks like. So time period, there's some words here. Time period, principal, interest rate, and interest. So the time period is just every period of time that the interest accrues. So we said it's going to accrue every 1 year at the end of the year. So at the end of the first year, our principal, which is the starting amount, so we'll call that P. And we'll look at these letters in a minute, actually. So the principal is just another word for the starting amount in our investment. The interest rate. Now, interest rate is an interesting one. It's 5%, but we always have to write it as a decimal. So instead of 5%, I'm going to divide it by 100. So 5% divided by 100 gives me 0.05. We always want to use this decimal rather than the percentage value. So I'm going to put that in there, and you'll see I'm going to multiply those two things together. So to work out the interest for the year, I'm going to take the principal, the 5,000, multiply it by the interest rate, so 5% of that will give me my interest value, or the interest amount earned for that first year. And it turns out to be $250. So let's have a look at that. At the end of the first year, my $5,000 principal, or investment, multiplied by 5%, earned me $250 interest. Let's look at the second year, and the same thing, same calculations apply. At the end of the second year, there's still $5,000 in the bank, multiplied by 5%, earns me another $250 interest. And if I go through every year, you can see that I'm earning another $250 of interest. And I'm taking that $250 and I'm putting it aside. So at the end of that 5-year period, when I total up all the interest earned, it comes to $1,250. That is an example of simple interest, because in simple interest, you'll see the principal or the balance doesn't change. Okay, and it's the same amount of interest being earned in each time period. There is an easier way of working this out, though, instead of having to go through and draw up a table like this. So let's go through and remind you of all the things that we need to identify for our question. Principal is the starting amount. The N just stands for the number of time periods. So in this example, there were 5. R is the interest rate, but remember, we have to convert it to a decimal. So we take, if it's got a percentage sign like this, divide it by 100 to get the decimal value. And then finally, I is the amount of interest that gets earned. Now, the reason we've identified these letters is we're going to give you a simple interest formula. So instead of drawing a table, you can just use this formula here. This I equals P times R times N. So let's have a look and see if we can do it for our example and get the same result. We've got a principal of 5,000. We've got 5 time periods because the interest is earned every year, so over 5 years. And my interest rate is 0.05, written as a decimal. So using my formula, I'm going to create a little space where each of the pronumerals are, and I'm going to put in here my principal of 5,000, my rate of 0.05, and my 5 time periods. Now I can just whack that in my calculator, and I should get the same amount. In fact, I do. $1,250 interest was earned by using the formula, the principal times the interest rate times the number of time periods. So just remember, as we wrap up, for simple interest, the balance or the principal amount never changes. And you'll see that here, because I'm not putting the money back in. The interest earned in each period stayed the same. And importantly, we always write our interest rate in the decimal form. All right, good job. That's your intro to simple interest.